that you're really geeked up on, it does the same thing for you. But I got to tell you, it's like almost every day after 2 hours, I walk out of that gym and it's like I'm 25 years old again. So I love what I'm doing. I love where I'm doing it. I've been fortunate to have great kids, and therefore the successes come with that. But I wouldn't trade it.
Well, considering you kind of went down the coaching road for me real quick, I hope you don't mind. You're kind of in our NABC Coaches Corner, presented by the National Association of Basketball Coaches. And if you don't mind, I'd love to ask you some coaching questions just from our point of view. Nothing crazy. I'm not going to ask you X's and O's. That's just wacky.
That's all right.
But this is just for fun. This is kind of a hybrid question. What's your favorite thing about coaching, or what's the best part about coaching in Division III, though you kind of alluded to it just then?
Yeah, I mean, I think challenging kids. I think challenging kids, and I'm going to put in quotes in an artificial arena. It's not an artificial arena, but put it this way: it doesn't cost them their job, it doesn't cost them their family. You can push kids so they can actually see themselves and find out some things about themselves that they wouldn't find out from perhaps their parents, because the parents, all parents, dote on their kids a bit, and they want their kids to be successful, and they're never wrong, and all of this stuff. Well, I'm not like that. I'm an old-fashioned coach, and we push our kids. And for me, to watch their growth, I just, I enjoy that so much. And I don't think any kid's ever grown without being pushed and challenged, and challenged further than they've been challenged before. And so that's what I do every day, and that's what we try and do every day. And that's what really makes me think, it's so special. I answered the first part. What was the second part?
Well, it's the same part. It was best part of coaching Division III, or your favorite thing about coaching. It was kind of a hybrid.
Yeah. Well, in Division III, I mean, this is my thing, and it's funny. I was thinking tonight. I always thank you guys, and I will thank you guys at the end. But I basically wanted to tell people, look, just don't give up what we have. Don't keep chasing the Division I dream, because it's not the dream maybe that you think it is. I think we have the dream right now. I think that these kids get the opportunity, to pursue their passion of basketball, and yet not have it be the end-all in the end, and not go to school, and when basketball's over, everything's over. And these kids are all working toward lives after basketball, and yet you wouldn't know it watching them play basketball. They play with such passion, and grit and all that stuff. It's a great place to be, Division III.
That's a good way of putting it. It's kind of why we like covering it. What's your biggest pet peeve as a coach?
My biggest pet peeve, and I'm answering this quickly, so I'm going to answer it. The first thing that came to my mind is that we get a lot of kids who come to Amherst who are good players of one sort or another, whether it's offense, very seldom defense. But it's amazing to me how little kids have learned the game. They play, but they don't really understand the game, and most of the kids have never been wrong before. I always say that jokingly to my kids. I say, "You've never been wrong before, have you?" And they said, "Well, what do you mean?" I said, "Well, did your mom ever tell you you were wrong?" Well, yeah, she did. And I said, "Yeah, bullshit did." Yeah, right. So, but there's a lot of kids, and this is an affluent school. Although we've done a great job with socioeconomic diversity. We have really good kids. We have smart kids. I want to say privileged, even though some of them are financially you're not privileged, but they're privileged in so many other senses because they're smart. They had good enough parents to get them through school so that they could go to a good school. But, a lot of kids, I don't think they've ever been wrong. And so I like to be the first guy to tell them they're wrong. And it's fun. It's just fun to watch them. It's part of the growth.
I like that, though. That's fun. I got to keep track of how many times you say that to them. And from now on, give me a counter. When you've tackled that one. What rule or nuance of the game do you love?
Well, strangely enough, because I was against it when it first came out, but I like the three-point. I like the three-point shot. I think that it really opened up the game. And playing when I played, we used to run an offense called the wheel. And you'd score 40 points a game or something, and you literally would make passes, till the cows came home and wait for the shot, and then of course there was no shot clock, and it was I saw some games it was 6-2, that sort of thing, and so for me, I thought that the shot clock, but more so the 3-point shot, just really opened the game up and really made it an even funner game for the kids to play. It's a player's game now.
What rule would you like to see either changed or removed from the game altogether?
That's an interesting one. I think like everybody, we've sort of struggled this year, and I don't think there's a specific rule I can say. I like what they've done with this movement rule because we're a movement team, and so I'm not going to answer your question. I'm trying to think as I'm talking if there's a good answer I can give you. But, there's just been a lot of debate this year about this freedom of movement stuff, and I like it. I mean, I think it's really good. I think fouls need to be called. I thought it got to be a wrestling match. Well, you saw our game with Central, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we scored 102 points against Cabrini the night before, and we scored like 54 points against Central, and the teams were wrestling out there, and that's not basketball. And you do what you do, but that's not basketball.
I think it was a basketball on the perimeter, and wrestling or football on the interior, rugby maybe.
Right. So I don't know. I don't know what rule I would really want to change. What I would like to see continue to change is this freedom of movement thing. How's that for sneaking halfway into an answer? I'd like to see him continue this to change the game back to a freedom of movement game.
Okay, I like that. I'm with you there too, by the way. Let's see. What do you know you can say to a ref? And you've had a lot of experience here. What do you know you can say to a ref without garnering his nice technical foul?
Yeah, I mean, I think this, you can't get personal. And I can't really sort of give you a specific, but when you either impugn their integrity, embarrass them, that just can't happen. And I get the whole thing. And if a guy tees me up, I know why I got it. I mean, trust me, I know why I got it. And I haven't been teed up in a long time. And I think that some of that may have to do with age, and people sort of forgive me as either being senile or earned a little bit of room. I don't know. But I try to stay away from that stuff because when you go over that line and you say something that's either personal or embarrassing, I think you should be teed up. Personal is way too far. Wouldn't mind seeing that a little bit more often than the players too, when they chit chat a little bit with themselves. And I say chit chat kindly. Your wife is watching you coach. What has she told you, or what do you think she wishes you would change on the bench? Well, she wishes I wouldn't get so stressed out. I mean, I still think she sort of like looks at me and goes, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
I'm working on. She's a coach, by the way, and she's a better coach than I am. She's a really good. She's a Division I diving coach. Our son's a full scholarship diver, one of the best divers in the country. He'll be an Olympian. He's at Texas on a full scholarship, and she was his coach. But she's a coach at the University of Massachusetts, so she gets coaching. And every now and then, I think she sort of smacks me in the head and says, "What do you say to that ref anyway? Like, what did you do?" But she gets the whole thing about coaching, and she was at the game today, and she's great. She's my biggest critic, my best friend. But like we won today, and she just gave me a big hug and said, "Hey, what a great win for you guys." And so, I mean, she understands the whole deal about coaching. So she's a different wife.
What would your assistants say to the same question? What would they like to see you do different on the sideline?
Probably substitute a little bit more. I'm a little bit tight on that, and I have been this year. And this is, it's been a plus minus for us. I mean, we've won games, but we probably haven't developed our bench the way we may have if we put kids into the fire a bit. I don't know if we're 21-3, and so. I've had tight reins this year. We have a bench of, well, it's down to 15 now, but it was 17, and that's a lot of kids. And when you're winning and things are going right, it's pretty easy, to keep kids happier. They still want to be playing. But I think my assistants are always like tugging my arm and say, "Hey, what do you think about putting Jimmy in?" And I'll turn around and say, "Jimmy?" And he'll go, "Yeah, but can we put Jimmy in?" And I'll say, is it his birthday? So they'll look at me and say, "Coach, we need to sub. We need to put a couple more guys on the floor and get to me, at least 3 minutes of break here." And so, I think they would probably, that's the one thing they would say they would want me to do more of is sub. Well, any coach would like to see that. Let's see. What's my last one? I don't have one more question. I've forgotten here.
There is one more question. When you retire, what do you hope people will say about you as a coach?
It's really funny. And we just had a retirement thing for for a trainer that was with me for 32 years. 2 years ago, we had my assistant of 26 years. And I sort of listen to these guys, and I've been to a bunch of retirements because I'm around. I grew up with older guys, and so I've been to a lot. And, you know, I don't want this to sound like it's going to sound, but I really don't want them to say anything. I just don't, you know, for me, and I really mean this sincerely, it's for me, like, I've gotten everything out of this I want to get out of it. I don't want to hear anybody tell me what I got out of it. I don't want to hear anybody compliment. I don't need compliments. My AD wanted to give out some trophy for 700 wins, and it was at the same. It was going to be at the same home game because we only had one home game. That Toomey was going to get recognized as the all-time leading scorer. He just broke that record. And I said, we're not going to mix and match. It's his night, not my night. Done. And you know, I really have. I have gotten everything that I want out of coaching these kids and my experiences with these kids and the experience of teaching basketball and teaching, hopefully, how to be better young men. And I don't need anybody to tell me that. I don't, whatever. They could say what they want to say, but I got to tell you something. I'm going to walk away and smile, and if no one ever says a word, that's okay to me. So I don't know what to say about that other than, hey, he's a good guy, he's a good coach, I don't know, whatever, you know. But I really don't want to say anything. I've gotten everything I want. And what can you say, really? 37 years, 40 years, whatever it is when I retire, it's like, you know, that's a lot of passion, a lot of energy. I've gotten back twice what I've put into it, which that's my payment, and that's what has been said back to me, which I appreciate the most.
Well, Coach, thanks so much for joining us on Hoopsville. Win number 700, obviously significant. Of course, you guys are number one in the conference tournament, the NESCAC. That comes up starting on Saturday, and you will take on Colby at home in the first round of that NESCAC tournament. As you clearly know, as always, we give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who are tuning in?
Yeah, look, and I mentioned this earlier. First of all, I thank you guys because you guys, and I'm delighted that you've reached your goal and that you've got this new site and it's overdue, and that, you know, people should be supporting it even at a higher level. It's a wonderful thing what you guys have done for Division III basketball. And a segue to that is just to say, you know, we need to really, as coaches and tell our administrators what a great thing we have in Division III. I talked to a lot of Division I coaches. You know, my wife's a Division I coach, and, you know, they put their hearts and souls into it too. But I got to tell you, Division III is a special place, and we shouldn't try to be like Division I. We should try to be like Division III, and we should try to remember some of the great things that have gotten us here, and try to reinforce those things as opposed to always trying to, you know, be something that looks better, but in my mind isn't necessarily better. And so, I love Division III. I think it's a great place. I think people ought to embrace it. People are to encourage to keep it as similar to what it is now as it can be, and, you know, to continue to support people like yourself who bring Division III, you know, into the light.
Well, thank you, Coach. Appreciate the kind words. Looking forward to seeing how the Lord Jeffs do the rest of the way. I certainly agree with you about making sure we embrace Division III for what it is and what we love about it. Good luck in the NESCAC tournament. I'm quite sure we're going to be talking about the Lord Jeffs come March as you try to defend your national championship officially. Thanks so much, and good luck the rest of the way.
Thanks. I appreciate it as always.
Yeah, take care.
Have fun with Wolsey.
Oh, I plan to. Take care. Right. Dave
Great.
Hickson joining us here on Hoops. So, going to take a very quick break. We're way behind schedule. We want to get back on schedule a little bit, and technical difficulties and that helped us tonight. We apologize for those. We don't know where they are. They aren't on our end, but we will continue to go along. If you've missed any part of this show, we are recording at least this section of the show, and we will try and upload that. We're going to take a very quick break. When we come back, super fan for Amherst, Michael Wall will join us here on the show. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. Back with more Hoopsville after this.
I know sports is important, but having the academic part along with it is a big plus. I've discovered in myself, you know, a newfound ability to overcome adversity at all different angles.
At a Division III school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual. The end result in my mind is you just become a very well-rounded person.
Before I came into college, I didn't really think I'd be able to balance so much. It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
With a D3 school, there's a lot of time for other opportunities. The coaches expect a lot of you during soccer, but after soccer, that's your own personal time to really find out who you are and other opportunities that you can pursue.
By balancing all of my interests, basketball, my leadership skills, and academics, I'm able to better prioritize my life and to manage it.
And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. If you're tuning in, we certainly appreciate it. We hope some of the technical difficulties are disappearing. If you are tuning in right now, expecting to hear from Baptist Bible, we will be with that segment momentarily. But first, we want to continue our Amherst segment. And the reason Dave Hickson was able to join us on the show was because of a great donation from, we will call him an Amherst superfan. Mike Wohl joins us on the Hoopsville Hotline, presented by Division III Men's Basketball Championship Weekend in the city of Salem, Virginia. Of course, Michael Wohl, probably better known as Walzy. Hey, Mike, how are you, sir?
Hey, Dave, great. Thanks for having me on the show. I'm honored to be on here, and I'm honored to be called an Amherst superfan.
Well, I had to. I couldn't figure out any other way to describe you. You certainly love following this team and how well they do. Give us a little sense of why you're so passionate for your Lord Jeffs.
Yeah, actually, I'm a local boy. I grew up in Northampton, which is about 10 miles down the road, and for the first 18 years of my life, I was just a sports fan who would travel down the road with my parents and see a good brand of basketball for free. And I got to see all the Amherst greats play, like Jim Rehnquist, Ben Vittori, Jamal Wilson, Hugh Quattlebaum, Chris Smith, Steve Zija. And then, as luck had it, I ended up attending Amherst. And my first year at the school when I was a freshman was the first year that the program made the Final Four, which was the 2004 season. And once I had a taste of getting to the Final Four, seeing Salem, meeting all the people in the Division III community, I was hooked. And I've been a super fan, I guess, for the past 10 seasons. This is my 11th. I've got to see Adam Harper, Andrew Olson, Aaron Toomey play, and in those 10 years, we've made 8 Sweet 16s and 5 Final Fours. So it's been a really good ride. I'm happy to be a part of the program on the fan side. And I always tell people Amherst is like the Duke of Division III. We've got the best coach, and we always make the Sweet 16 or further.
Duke of Division III. I think there's a few schools who might have other opinions about that, but
Yep.
You know, Williams being one of them. Had to rub it in a little bit with your alma mater's biggest rival. When you got to Salem, you got to experience Amherst. Of course, you were at the championship in Atlanta last year. What's your thought about that type of environment for Division III?
It's absolutely incredible. I played soccer at Amherst, and unfortunately, my soccer career, we only made the NCAA tournament once. So I really was able to live vicariously through the success of the basketball program while I was there and beyond. And now the men's soccer program at Amherst is doing great. But anytime you get to the championships of Division III, and I think that I've only been to soccer and basketball, but basketball certainly puts on quite a show. It's really special. I mean, you get the host family, you travel around, you go to schools and find things. I'm talking like I'm a player. I'm aware I didn't play on the team. But I know the inner workings of what goes on in Salem, and it really is special. The banquet, the way that you have these locker rooms, you're playing in an arena. And then Atlanta was a whole different ballgame last year, and you had police escorts to practices and games, and a booth, a private box for the real Division I Final Four, which you're on the court for the game. So, I mean, it's a great scale, and I'm happy for the kids that got to participate, Coach Hickson and his staff throughout the last 10 years. It's been amazing. What's your take on the NESCAC this year? Strong as always. There was a little bit of a shift. Back 10 years ago, it was always Amherst, Williams, and Trinity. And then Trinity started to fall off, and Middlebury replaced them and had a strong 5-year run where they made, deep runs in the NCAAs and won the NESCAC tournaments. And I say the shift this year, it looks like Middlebury's down a little bit this year, and Bowdoin's kind of hopped them, and it looks like it's those three. They were 1, 2, 3 in the regional rankings and 1, 2, 3 in the seedings for the NESCAC tournament. I've seen all three teams play numerous times, and they're all very talented, depending on which key players are on at what time. I watched, obviously, both the Amherst-Williams games extremely closely, and the Amherst-Bowdoin game as well, which was more competitive than I thought the score. They're a really good team, especially when they are 7 of 9 on threes going into the last possession, which I don't know if that'll regress. Hopefully it will if we play them again. But yeah, no, three teams that can all make runs. Last year you saw the NESCAC put three teams into the Elite Eight. So the NESCAC's strong. It'll always be one of the 3 or 4 best conferences in the country. Obviously am biased. I think it's the best conference. But, the WIAC strong, CCIW, the ODAC, there's good conferences. Good teams.
I was going to say, you guys up in the Northeast, you're in the Northeast. The Midwest, same deal in the Midwest. How do you get to try and appreciate the basketball around the rest of the country?
That's a great question. I'll be honest, I always look at Pat's website, D3 Hoops, as like the ESPN.com resource for Division III basketball, and then Hoopsville, kind of like College Game Day, where you can get a better sense for the quality of the teams and coaches around the country. With how large the Northeast is in terms of teams, I stay pretty regional-centric as a fan during the regular season. And then as it becomes clear that Amherst is going to make the NCAA tournament and you got to start shaping up the whole country, that's when I start paying a lot more attention to the other teams, even though, it's impossible not to notice how good Stevens Point is this year, or Aaron Walton-Moss at Cabrini, who we saw play last year, and he's an incredible talent. But it's this time of year, right as the regular season ends, headed into NESCAC play and NCAAs, when, all right, let's shape up the rest of the country. Who are we going to play? Are we going to play our old friends from 2008 in Wash U? Are we going to have more NESCAC on NESCAC action in the NCAAs? It gets really fun this time of year, so it's exciting.
I know you'd love to make a return trip to Salem, Virginia. Certainly we don't know what the men's basketball tournament will look like, but just curious, do you think your Lord Jeffs have a chance this year to be able to repeat? The last time we had a repeat was Wash U.
Yeah, repeating is really hard. I think that this Amherst team has what it takes to get to Salem, and I've always said dozens of times, and I could make spreads and lines on it if you want, but to win a Division III basketball championship, on the men's side at least, are we still on?
Yeah, you're good.
Sorry. Getting to Salem is the hard part, and then you need some luck. You need some draws, and you need to be playing well for those 2 games on back-to-back days. So, yeah, the short answer to your question is yes, I think Amherst has what it takes to repeat, but what I mean by that is I think they'll get, they have a good chance of getting to Salem, and then from there you need to play well, you need to get luck. When we lost to Wash U trying to repeat, they absolutely played a perfect game against us. We didn't even play badly, and they dominated us. And there's no regrets from our team on that. It would have been terrible to come out of the game like, man, I wish we had played better. But, tip your caps to Wash U in that game. And hopefully, if we get to Salem this year, we play like that for 2 games and repeat. So I think there's a chance. Certainly.
And, of course, you never know how the tournament's going to get set up anyway, so there's a lot in between. And quickly, I got to ask, your women's team's pretty dominant year in and year out. Do you pay attention to the Lady Lord Jeffs?
Well, I do. If you look at GP Gromacki and what he's done, not just at Amherst, but his whole entire career, all that guy does is he steps into a program and wins 20 to 30 games every year. It's unbelievable. I follow them by far magnitudes less closely than the men's side. But I did, I was back at Amherst last weekend and heard the bad news about Megan Robertson. I think she tore ACL or something like that. So that'll hurt our chances to make a deep run, I think, and that'll be a problem for us. But, that team always, they won the NESCAC, 5 years in a row at one point?
I think so, something
crazy. But, yeah, no, I'm more of a men's booster, men's big fan. Boosters fun up there. We're super fans.
Well, okay,
all crazy teams and spreads on the D3 Hoops forums and then cheering for Coach Hickson's squad.
Well, hey, Mike, I really appreciate the very kind, generous donation you gave Hoopsville. It certainly means a lot to me that you would consider the show that integral, that you would contribute that much. You will get a Hoopsville T-shirt sent to you at some point. Unless you happen to get to the Final Four, then maybe I'll just deliver it to you. As always, as you know, we give our guests the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who may be tuning in?
Yeah, absolutely, and I hope I do get that shirt in person. That'd be great. But first, yeah, I gotta thank you, like all the coaches do, for you and Pat Coleman, all you do for D3 Hoops. It makes the lights brighter for everyone, and that definitely includes fans. And it's great taking this interview in the midst of an Amherst 7-game winning streak against Williams. You brought up Williams, I'll bring him up then. But
you just jinxed yourself.
We'll see. Two quick things. One, I want to clear up the rumor on why I left and retired the boards. It's not exactly true that it was Tinder related, but as anyone who's played sports knows, sports can sometimes evoke emotion and generate negative behavior, and sometimes crosses lines that doesn't make it worth it to participate. And last season, in the Amherst basketball world, there was the Middlebury box-out scandal. And I ungloriously retaliated in the NESCAC semis when Middlebury was playing Williams in our gym on a neutral game that had no impact on Amherst, but I felt like I was defending Coach Hickson's honor, even though Coach Hickson probably doesn't even know that there is a scandal. You know, he probably only saw the drama in the game when Borkman put back the free throw and Toomey hit the game-winning three. But then that was a tipping point that on the post-up forums, the Middlebury fan called me racist when comparing Australian-born James Wang to Palo Alto-born Jeremy Lin when we were doing NESCAC to NBA comparisons, which was really a lot of fun until racism got thrown in there. And for me, it just killed the fun, and it was time to hang them up. And the last thing I want to say is I get asked a lot as a super fan of Amherst, who's the better player, Andrew Olson or Aaron Toomey?
Mm-hmm.
And I love that question. And if someone wants to spend days or a couple weeks with me, I can talk about both of their careers and relive it. There's no easy answer, but they're both better than Mike Crotty.
Oh, you would go there, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
I should have known. I should have put the censor button on. I saw it coming. No, I'm just kidding. Walsey, thanks so much for coming on the show. Certainly appreciate it. Good luck the rest of the way with your alma mater, and maybe we'll see you in Salem.
Appreciate it. Thanks a lot for having me up.
Take care, Walsey. Superfan Mike Walsey-Wall from Amherst. Appreciate him taking the time. We're well behind schedule, but we will try and catch up here quickly. Coming up ahead, Baptist Bible men's basketball coach Mike McHugh, also Rose-Hulman men's basketball coach Jim Shaw, and Randolph-Macon's men's basketball coach Nathan Davis. If you're listening to the show now, we appreciate it. If you're catching in the archive, that's wonderful. We are recording everything about halfway through Dave Hickson's interview is being recorded. We will upload that later should we see any major problems with the archive in case you missed any of it. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk to the team that had one of the biggest upsets in Division III basketball. We'll talk to Mike McHugh of Baptist Bible. You're listening to Hoopsville. We'll be back right after this.
I know sports is important, but having the academic part along with it is a big plus. I've discovered in myself, a newfound ability to overcome adversity at all different angles.
At a Division III school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual. The end result in my mind is you just become a very well-rounded person.
Before I came into college, I didn't really think I'd be able to balance so much. It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
With a D3 school, there's a lot of time for other opportunities. The coaches expect a lot of you during soccer, but after soccer, that's your own personal time to really find out who you are and other opportunities that you can pursue.
By balancing all of my interests, basketball, my leadership skills, and academics, I'm able to better prioritize my life and to manage it.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.D3Hoops.com.
And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. Hope you're enjoying the show. Despite technical difficulties, we hope you're able to tune in. And if not, we have at least majority of the show on archive, so you can listen later. If you have questions for us, email us at hoopsville at d3hoops.com. You can also tweet us at d3hoops or hashtag Hoopsville, or join us on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville. We're going to move along and talk about one of the biggest upsets of the year, and it just happened the other night. As the number 2 team in the country, the Cabrini Cavaliers, ran into the defenders of Baptist Bible, and, Baptist Bible apparently defended Cabrini not being the number 2 team in the country, as some have argued, and so Coach Mike McHugh joins us on the Hoopsville Hotline, presented by the Division III Men's Basketball Championship weekend in Salem, Virginia. Coach, welcome to Hoopsville.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Certainly appreciate it. First and foremost, the weather's been wacky, so you guys were supposed to be the 4th game for Cabrini, ended up being the 3rd, because apparently the Mother Nature doesn't want Immaculata playing Cabrini this season. I got to ask, you guys this weather's been wacky to begin with. Did it have any effect on you guys?
No, it didn't have any effect on us. I think, kids have been playing high school ball and weather's crazy and games get canceled, and I think it's just a frame of mind. You just have to accept what you're given and make the most of it.
What about this game? You guys got unceremoniously punted last time you played them. It wasn't that close. I wouldn't say anybody would certainly chalk any game up because anything can happen at any point in time. But what was the mentality going into that game for you guys?
Well, when you get beat, they pummeled us at their place. We go down there and we couldn't make a shot. Just as a coach, trying to convince them that they could compete, and trying to sell them. As a coach, sometimes you got to be a salesman. Just trying to sell them that we could, if we put our plan into practice, that we could compete with them. And the guys bought in.
What time did you think maybe it clicked in that game?
Well, like anything, we came out in a great start, and we made some shots. And once a team feels that they can play with somebody, then they gain confidence. And I think that was a fast start for us was essential because we made some shots. And that kind of catapulted us because then we felt like we could play with them.
You guys led most of the way, and it was a double-digit lead for a long way. Obviously, you ended up winning by 9. Aaron Walton Moss appears to be injured, or we know he's injured. I'm saying they seem to have him out there and still scores 21 despite the challenges. Obviously they have Rafferty out there. They've got other guys who are injured. What was the? Did you guys feel like you maybe had to hold on for dear life at the end despite having a double-digit lead?
Absolutely. Walton Moss is an absolute stud. One leg or two. He was just, I told him, his will to win and his want to compete is second to none in Division III. Or second to none. He's just unbelievable. So, yeah, there was an element. Yeah, our guys, there was one point we were up 18, and we were playing not to lose instead of playing to win. And I just kept trying to remind our guys, play to win, compete. And we were able to make some key shots. There was an offensive rebound. We got 2 offensive rebounds in a possession, and we capped it off by hitting a 3. We hit back-to-back threes when they cut it to 6. And that was big for us to come up with hitting those shots.
The other problem with this is I can tell as the clock probably was running down, your team's going to probably start realizing, oh, my gosh, we can do this, we can do this. How do you keep them focused on not getting distracted, as it were, especially since it was a home game?
Right. I think you just remind them of what we're trying to accomplish as far as our goals. So they focus on that instead of going, oh, my goodness, we might have to pull this off, and then we, think about it too much. Just remind them of what we're trying to accomplish and keep our goals in front of us. And hopefully I kept them focused on what we wanted to do. I
got to ask, because you kind of touched on it, and one more question about Cabrini. This is a team, number 2 team in the country going into that game. You have Aaron Walton Moss, who you talked about. They have Fran Rafferty. I can speak at some point in time. And certainly other weapons along the way. But did you guys have a different strategy than maybe most teams did to be able to take advantage of this? Is this going to be those game tapes that people grab and go, oh, I didn't even think about that strategy?
I don't think so. They've seen just about everything that you could think of to throw at them, and they've adjusted well. I just think, we were able to make some shots and get out on them early. And they weren't firing all cylinders because of Walton Moss being hurt. They had another good guard that was out. Vinny Walls is unbelievable. The kid can create shots, too. So I just think we kind of caught them off guard. They probably showed up. They played hard, but, you understand, they smoked us the first time.
Yeah.
And we jumped out of the gate, and then that was on. We were feeling it. And Rafferty, we thought, okay, Moss is going to get his. Let's not let anybody else hurt us. And try to keep them, if they made a shot, they made it contested. And we just try to make it difficult for them to score because they're so talented. They score. That's what they do. But we just tried to make them shoot contested shots.
You point out the previous game, 100-71 was the spread there.
Yeah, they could have beat us. He was kind to us. They could have beat us 130-50.
It just cracks me up how you put that. This team, this is your alma mater. You know this program well. You've been coaching them since '94. Is this the program's biggest win?
Without question, yes.
Anything come close?
I would say, we're a Bible college.
Right.
So we competed National Christian College Athletic Association Division II. When we went to move to Division III, I was a big push to go to Division III because, the competition level is greater. And I think the next biggest one, we won our conference in 2008. It's a different conference than the NEAC.
Right.
And to win that game was a big win for us to just get the opportunity to make it to, go to the big dance, so to speak, for Division III. But for me personally, those are two big wins, and this one is far greater than that one.
Looking at...
I'll tell you what, I wish I would trade 4 or 5 games this season that we should have won that we didn't for this win so we can make the playoffs.
I was going to say, there's always the, but really, this is nice, but...
Right.
Yeah, from what I can tell you, I don't think you guys have beaten Cabrini in conference action ever.
Never.
So
no, first time.
That's got to be thrilled. And, of course, it was appropriate that you guys played on February 15th and your top player was Abe Valentine.
Yeah, how ironic is that, huh?
Just a little ironic, a little crazy. I'm sure it was by design, right?
Yeah, well, that's the first thing I said in the locker room after the game was, it was Valentine's Day. And we all kind of chuckled.
What's been the reaction since?
And we played them off. We played tomorrow to a team that beat us the first time we played them. And I'm quite furious that we lost them. So we're getting ready for tomorrow. I mean, we said enjoy the win last night, and we came to practice today. We worked. We're preparing for our game tomorrow.
I got to ask, what was Coach Kahn's reaction to you after the game?
Oh, he's gracious. He's a great guy. He just told me great game. He actually texted me after the game and said, congratulations, great game. He's a great guy. He's nothing but class.
This program, as you point out, wanted to challenge itself. It gets into the NAAC. You obviously won that back in 2008. Since you entered the CSAC, it's been more of a struggle. I'm sure this game can be a big stepping stone and a big step forward for you guys, but what's also the next evolutionary step for Baptist Bible?
Well, we want to make the playoffs in the CSAC. I think to get to the point where we get the type of kid, student athlete in, that we're competitive year out and year out, and we get into the playoffs on a regular basis, and then to compete for that conference championship. That's what we want to accomplish.
It's certainly impressive that you guys were able to get that win over Cabrini. I remember watching it via tweets and live stats and all that, and I was just waiting for the Cabrini run that just never seemed to materialize. I'm sure you gained a few years in your life as well during that game. Hats off on one of the biggest victories of the season, and certainly your first victory over Cabrini ever. Certainly a heck of a way to do it, Coach.
Yeah, we're just so, just thankful. I'm thankful to the Lord for allowing us the opportunity to play hard. We're just trying to get our guys a mindset, a toughness mindset to play, to give effort every time out we step on the floor. And it clicked on Saturday.
Well, there's no way in my mind, I can't imagine you guys can't take this as a stepping stone forward. So congratulations on that. We always give the coach the final word. Any final thoughts you'd like to share with those who may be tuning in?
Just thankful for the opportunity that our fans came out and cheered us on. And, it's a privilege and an honor to coach at Baptist Bible College.
Well, Coach, I know you had a lot of fans on YouTube or on our Twitter page waiting for the interview. If they didn't get to watch it now, they'll watch it later. Congratulations again on the victory. Good luck the rest of the way. Hopefully we'll see good things for the defenders down the road.
Thank you so much, Dave.
Absolutely. Take care.
All right, bye-bye.
Mike Show joining us on the Hoopsville Hotline. Appreciate him taking the time to do so. We're going to keep the show rolling along because we're behind schedule. We still have Jim Shaw from Rochester Institute of Technology. Rochester Institute of Technology. Wrong Institute of Technology. It's the Rose-Hulman Institute of Technology, or just Rose-Hulman. Jim Shaw will join us here momentarily. Also coming up, we'll talk to Nathan Davis from Randolph-Macon. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com, the National Association of Basketball Coaches. If you've missed any of the show, we are uploading it to an archive. Clearly, something doesn't want to work for us, but we will work our way through it and figure it out. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. We'll be back right after this.
Division III schools offer academic scholarships instead of athletic scholarships. This really puts the focus that the student athlete needs to maintain that GPA.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
I think there's more opportunities for academic scholarships in Division III. A lot of people pick schools just based on the sport and don't get that experience.
Being a Division III athlete and developing my leadership skills has definitely put my name out there and helped me get more recognition on campus, but more recognition nationwide. I did win the Jostens Trophy, which is based on leadership, academics, and then how well you do on the court.
I'm also the Schwartz Scholar of my class. Schwartz Scholarship is basically a scholarship that is given to a student who's identified as a likely leader.
And the end of the day, it won't matter how they play on the field, it will matter how they do in the classroom.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
Every season starts with hope and a dream to play for the ultimate title, to become NCAA national champions. And you can experience it live at the 2014 NCAA Division III Men's Basketball Championship, March 21st and 22nd in Salem, Virginia, hosted by the Old Dominion Athletic Conference and the City of Salem. Affordable tickets now available. Visit ncaa.com/tickets today and make a date with champions.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at D3Hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. If you're able to watch us live, we certainly appreciate it. If you have any questions for us, tweet us at D3Hoopsville or hashtag Hoopsville, or on Facebook at facebook.com/Hoopsville as well. You can also email us Hoopsville at D3Hoops.com. All that information, of course, on the bottom of your screen. We're going to keep things rolling along as we're behind schedule and talk to some more teams. We've got 2 more guests lined up for this show, and we'll jump out into the Central/Midwest region. And of course, next year we'll be talking to them. It'll be the Great Lakes region. And joining us from Rose-Hulman is Jim Shaw, head coach for the Engineers, joining us on the Hoopsville Hotline, presented by the Division III Men's Basketball Championship Tournament in Salem, Virginia. Coach, welcome back to Hoopsville, sir.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. I appreciate you coming on the show. Team is, I would say you guys are kind of having a quiet 19-4 season. I don't know why, and maybe it was, starting the season 3-3 that maybe just kind of had everybody going, okay, HCAC is going to be what it is. Especially the loss to Transylvania back on December 7th, which in past years might not have been a big deal. But since then, you guys have rolled along. 16 of 17 games have been wins. Your only loss was on the road to Hanover on January 22nd by 5. Is this team maybe better than people realize?
Well, I don't know. I don't know about that, but I do think to start the year, people thought we could be pretty good, or decent, but that was based on having the returning player of the year in the league and an All-American candidate, Julian Strickland back. But it took us a while to get our footing. We had one of our starters playing soccer who joined us late. And what people probably don't realize is, excuse me, other than Julian, we're missing 5 of our top 6 scorers in minutes played from last year. And even though people kind of evaluate you from one year to the next, if you have a great player back, they say, well, they should be good, and that is a good start, absolutely. But most of the time, those teams don't do real well or as well as expected because it takes a lot more guys with a lot more experience and playing together and all those component parts to be successful. So I think maybe we were a little bit of a work in progress. I think we still might be. We've really improved on the defensive end from the first weekend or so, and we just haven't really thought about how many games we won in a row or this many out of that many. You just kind of play the schedule and see how it goes.
I'll let you know it's 7 in a row. Of course, 2 games left on the road against Franklin and then Mount St. Joseph to close out the week. Of course, you're fighting to stay on top of the Heartland Conference. You have a game lead on Defiance, a 3-game lead over Hanover, which is basically, in Mount St. Joseph, which is basically out of it. But you'd love to keep that home court advantage over Defiance, I know. So what do you guys got to do here against Franklin and Mount St. Joseph's, which are games that certainly are on the road, but an easy win against Franklin earlier in the season, not so easy win against Mount St. Joseph.
Yeah, and I don't know if the Franklin one was easy either. You know how it is during the course of the season. But, we just have to win, really, to get the home court and have the HCAC tournament at our place. We just need to win one of the 2 games. But that really needs to be Wednesday night at Franklin. We hold the tiebreaker with Defiance because we did sweep them. But they've done a great job, Defiance has, of keeping the pressure on us. They've been a game back of us for quite a while. And everybody kind of says, well, you've got the tiebreaker on them, but, if they pass you in the standings, tiebreaker really doesn't matter.
Exactly.
And they've kept the pressure on us by winning games, and I fully expect them to win their last 2 games, and puts a lot of pressure on us and makes every game important, and we hopefully plan on doing the same.
You guys are not that far. Last year 24-4 on the season. Unfortunately, ran into Calvin in the first round at home, and Calvin just said thank you very much for participating. You won 20 games a year before that, 20-9. I think that was the year you surprised Transylvania at one point. You did surprise them in the championship game at their place in the conference tournament, and then almost took out North Central in the first round. It's a far cry from that 7-18 season back in 2009, 2010. Not a quick turnaround, certainly by any stretch of the imagination, but a nice steady one. What's been the secret?
Better players.
Well, that was easy.
the guys that were seniors last year, Austin Weatherford, John Gurk, and Brenton Ballsbaugh, Nate Gissentanner, didn't win a lot of games their freshman year, and then the next year we added Julian Strickland and some other guys to the fray, and we won 16 games, I believe it was, and then we've had the 3 years where we've won 20, the first 2, and we're at 19 right now. It just kind of happens for most programs. Things are a little cyclical. There's some programs that are just on top all the time because of not only the excellence in the coaching staff, but also the way the school's set up, the way the basketball program is set up. And, we all have hurdles to overcome, and we all have things that are make our jobs easier, but every job's different. Some of those programs can stay at the top. For everybody else, it's pretty cyclical.
Speaking of cyclical, you've got 6 seniors on this squad. Certainly going to lose a lot. in the sense of talent, certainly. Julian Strickland leading the team as a senior, 22.8 points a game, nearly 6 rebounds a game. Jimmy Miller is giving you 10.5 points a game. Contributions certainly from Alex Hauptman and Tyler Duffy and Jordy Martin. And even I should have even mentioned Michael Halstein, who's also played in 23 games this season. How important has this core been to that recovery and return to the top?
Well, I think one of the things is Julian is a great player and leads us in really every statistical category of note. I mean, scoring and rebounding and assists and steals. But then, and you know, it's a good thing to start with a consistent performer like he's been. But then we've got a lot of component parts that have went around Julian. And I got to be honest with you, from one day to the next, I don't know which guys it's going to be that play well. Sometimes it drives me crazy in terms of my bench and who to play and how much to play them. But the point is, for the most of the year and most of the time, somebody's been there to play well and be in a supportive role of Julian. You know, Jimmy's averaged 10 a game as a sophomore, and Tyler Duffy, when he's not in foul trouble, has done a really nice job. Jordy Martin is one of those guys that we just seem to be better with him on the court than with him without, even if the stat sheet doesn't say so. So he just does a lot of things that help the team win. And Alec Halp's had a really great impact. He's the young man who played soccer that we missed at the beginning of the year. So, and then we've got a number of guys off the bench as well. And it's kind of been one of those things is there's always been a guy or two to be there to support Julian. And there's been a couple nights when Julian was off and we had big games from other people.
I just want to say, and I may have spoken to you about this earlier, but Brian McHugh does not play enough. I'm just, just saying, he's not related to me, but I have an affinity that I just don't think he plays enough basketball, Coach.
Well, Brian would agree. As most kids
of course he would.
He's a great young man. I got to tell you, up at Manchester a week or so ago, it was mop-up time, kind of, and Brian got fouled and made 2 free throws. And I had taken, Julian had 41 points, Strickland had 41, and I had taken him out with over 5 minutes to go in the game. And Brian makes his second free throw, and there's a stoppage in play with subs, and he comes over to me on the bench. There's like 30 seconds left, and he said, "Coach, I got my career high. Are you sure you don't want to take me out?" with 2. And I was like looking and talking to people on the bench. I honestly didn't know if he made both of them or not. And I said, "Was that 1 or 2, Brian?" And he looked at me, said 2. And then afterwards he said, "We win whenever Strickland and I combine for 43.
Oh, this guy's got a good sense of humor. I like this.
He does. He's a wonderful kid and is a team first guy, which you need. Everybody from your best player all the way throughout your roster, you need that kind of attitude to be successful, and I got some great kids.
Well, just tell him I've got his support. We'll make sure.
I will tell him that tomorrow.
And of course, I should not forget that you did win your 300th game last time around. The last time you guys hit the floor, your second coach to do that there at Rose-Hulman. In your mind, though, the significance of winning 300.
Well, it really just gives you an opportunity to reflect on and reflect with appreciation for all those people that I've been involved with, all the players and coaches in our program. And it just, after the game in the locker room, my assistant coach Lloyd had the guys, they had a little piece of paper with 300. We took a goofy picture.
It's a great pick.
When I got ready, except for the one guy who's got the 300 upside down. So it's like an 00 and some other figure you can't make out. But, I spoke a few words and, I got emotional, and it wasn't about winning and losing. It was about, I just started kind of randomly going through names from my first, those guys that were seniors my first year as a head coach, and, a couple guys that I've coached that have passed away, and you just start remembering all those people with appreciation, and that's that's really nice. The number isn't a big deal. I mean, I think Mark Edwards from WashU got his, like, 2500 win this year, something like that. So, you know, of course, he is like 104 years old. So, you know, if you coach a while, you're going to get some things like that. But it is nice, but it's also nice. And the other thing that's been nice is I've gotten a lot of texts and email and phone calls from past players and stuff congratulating me, and that makes me feel really good.
Well, congratulations! It's a wonderful number to hit, to say the least. And I appreciate.
Yeah, we did it the easy way. We were down 18 at the half and 20 in the first half.
Yeah,
so
true.
You know, I wasn't exactly counting. You know, I wasn't on 299.5 at any time during the game. It went from 299 at the beginning of the game to 300 at the end. So.
I was going to say you weren't willing to make it 298, maybe, just because of the way it was going.
It felt like it.
I know we're going to probably see you in Salem, whether your team makes it or not. I know it's wonderful seeing all the head coaches there, so I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully you'll be there. But hopefully you can bring your team along the way as well. Of course, you guys will move to the Great Lakes region next year. Have you even thought about how that will impact your chances on NCAA tournament and stuff?
No, I don't really get caught up with a lot of that kind of stuff. A matter of fact, people started talking to me about regional rankings last week, and I didn't even know if any of them had come out, and come to find out that none of them had come out. So there was a good reason I didn't know that, and I don't really get caught up with that stuff. You just got to go and win games, and you know, our schedule is what our schedule is, and there's some things you can't do much about on your schedule. You know, you'll play teams that are up or teams that are down in a particular year. But I'll be out there at Salem. Hopefully my team plays in the NCAA tournament, but we got a lot of work to do to get there. And I'd really like to see Julian Strickland in the All-Star game. I think he's a tremendous candidate and should be in the All-Star game, and that'd be a great cap to his career because he's a great player and just a wonderful kid to coach. So I'd really like to have that happen too.
Yeah, I can't blame you there. He's certainly a good talent. Coach, thanks so much for joining us. Congratulations again on win number 300. Good luck the rest of the way, especially in the conference tournament and hopefully on to the NCAA tournament. As always, we give our guests the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who are tuning in?
Well, just thanks for the kind thoughts, and we're going to keep plugging away. That's kind of our nature, is to grind it and plug away. And also, congratulations to you guys on a little bit of your fundraising, and you do a great job, and maybe all those hundreds of thousands of dollars you raise can go to helping your technology to eliminate some of the problems you had tonight.
Trust me, I just lost more of my budget for it because of tonight.
It has something to do with Brian Lane of Transylvania. I don't know how it's his fault, but I'm willing to bet that it's somehow his fault.
You know what? I'm all for that, Coach. I am totally for blaming Brian Lane. If that is how we're going to get this solved, he's number one on my list. And I should say thank you to all the Heartland coaches as well, who so kindly contributed to the show. I certainly appreciate that as well. I know you were part of that. And good luck the rest of the way. I'll look forward to seeing you in Salem. We'll raise a glass at least.
Thank you. We're really supportive of your guys' support for all these great athletes who play at the Division III level. They deserve every ounce of recognition and love they get because they give a lot of sacrifice.
Yeah.
And really, we're blessed to be around them.
Absolutely agree with you. Thanks so much, Coach. Good luck the rest of the way. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Bye.
Jim Shaw joining us from Rose-Hulman. Again, the team is 19-4 overall. They have won 16 of their last 17. 14-2 in conference play. They've almost wrapped that up. They've got to make sure to take care of business on the road against Franklin and then Mount St. Joseph before hopefully hosting the conference tournament in their place. We got one more guest here on the tap. We will be going to Nathan Davis from Randolph-Macon when we come back from the break. You're listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. We'll have plenty more Hoopsville when we return right after this.
I know sports is important, but having the academic part along with it is a big plus. I've discovered in myself, a newfound ability to overcome adversity at all different angles.
At a Division III school is really shaped around you developing yourself as a complete individual. The end result in my mind is you just become a very well-rounded person.
Before I came into college, I didn't really think I'd be able to balance so much. It helps a lot that you have a family with your team that can guide you.
With a D3 school, there's a lot of time for other opportunities. The coaches expect a lot of you during soccer, but after soccer, that's your own personal time to really find out who you are and other opportunities that you can pursue.
By balancing all of my interests, basketball, my leadership skills, and academics, I'm able to better prioritize my life and to manage it.
We've got more schools than Division I, more fans than Division II, and more upsets than March Madness. There's 800 programs with over 11,000 games leading to 2 national championships. And we've been covering it all for over a decade. From Eastern to Occidental, from Puget Sound to Piedmont, from Southwestern to the University of New England, and from Hope to Calvin. Nobody covers Division III basketball like we do. We're at d3hoops.com at www.d3hoops.com.
Every season starts with hope and a dream to play for the ultimate title, to become NCAA national champions. And you can experience it live at the 2014 NCAA Division III Men's Basketball Championship, March 21st and 22nd in Salem, Virginia, hosted by the Old Dominion Athletic Conference and the City of Salem. Affordable tickets now available. Visit ncaa.com/tickets today and make a date with champions.
And welcome back to Hoopsville, everybody. If you're watching us live, and according to our stats, there are a few people who are watching us live. We thank you, though now I'm getting some information that we have some problems, but hey, what can I do? But we're going to continue on as we're recording the show nonetheless. If you've got any questions for us, email us at hoopsville@d3hoops.com. You can also tweet us at d3hoopsville, or using the hashtag Hoopsville. You can also Facebook us at facebook.com/Hoopsville. One of the teams that's certainly making news in Division III would be coming out of our good, or down out of the Virginia area, though he wouldn't be in Virginia as we speak, but we will go to him shortly. Randolph-Macon playing very good basketball this season has almost become standard operating procedure for them. 18-5 on the season, 12-2 in conference play, and we'll go to the Hoopsville hotline and Coach Nathan Davis joining us on the Hoopsville Hotline, presented by the Division III Men's Basketball Championship Tournament in the city of Salem, which Coach Davis would know very well as well. Coach, welcome to Hoopsville, sir.
Dave, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. I figure from our conversation off air that you are approximately crossing into Delaware as we speak from your trip to New York City. We'll get to that in a bit. Hope all the travel has been safe despite all the crazy weather the past few days.
So far, so good. Fortunately, there was no snow today.
Very good. First and foremost, you guys had a game on Saturday, and you're in New York City recruiting. You're crazy.
You gotta have players. There's a gold saying: Jimmy's and Joe's beat X's and O's. So we got to go out and find some guys to add to our roster for the coming years.
I'm all about that, but it's not like you had a UAA trip up to NYU to give you a catalyst. This means it was just like a one-day up and down trip.
Up and back today. Up and back. It's not so bad. It's about 5 hours.
Yeah, I was going to say
Richmond and New York City.
Yeah, roughly. Yeah, roughly 5. Hey, listen, teams 18-5. You're on top of the ODAC as we speak. Let's see, technically game and a half, because Guilford's behind you at 10-3. You're 12-2. Behind Guilford is Virginia Wesleyan at 10-4. You got a 2-game lead on them with 2 games to play. You got Hampton-Sydney. I think you know them well, and Washington and Lee to round things out. Can you guys wrap up this number 1 seed?
I'm more worried about just making sure we get better on Monday in practice. Certainly, like you said, we've been playing very well, but the league is so challenging. Can't take anything for granted. We got to make sure we get better and go out and hopefully play well enough on Wednesday that we can find a way to win one more.
I know you want to get better, and certainly that game against Eastern Connecticut on the road, Eastern Connecticut, wrong state, Eastern Mennonite, 73-68 back on the 11th 5 days ago, probably stings just a little bit, especially considering you guys hadn't lost since you played Cabrini in a tight one back on December 18th. What happened in the Eastern Mennonite game, and is it something that is just one of those blips on the radar?
Well, I think first off, you got to give Eastern Mennonite a lot of credit. Kirby Dean does a great job there. You have a talented roster, and they played better than us that night. I thought they played harder, they competed, they executed better, and when that happens, you're in trouble. And we didn't play up to our capabilities, and unfortunately we took a loss, like you said. Hopefully, just a blip on the radar, and we can get back to playing the way we're capable of here to finish out the year.
You guys kind of quietly came onto the season. I think a lot of people had high expectations for the squad, considering how well you guys played at the end of last season, rolling up into the NCAA tournament and having one brutal travel schedule, but beating WPI and then having to take on Amherst in the third round. Probably no shame in losing the eventual national champs, but certainly you wanted to do better. But you start the season 1-4, losses to Scranton, Christopher Newport, Guilford. You then win 3 straight, then you lose to Cabrini. And I would say, argumentably, at 4-4, most people probably went, okay, yeah, the Yellow Jackets will be okay this year, but they're not going to be great. What was the thinking in your camp?
Well, we thought we could be as good as we've ever been. I think that we have a very talented roster. We have guys that have been through a lot, know what it takes to win. And like you said, we didn't get off to a great start, but at the same time, one thing we pride ourselves on doing is going out and playing a great schedule. And I know you know Scranton pretty well, and they've got a very good team. Christopher Newport's obviously got a very good team. We had the ball against Scranton. We were down twice with the ball down the stretch and didn't get it done. We committed a foul with 3 seconds left against Christopher Newport, lost by 1 in that game. We go down to Guilford, get beaten in overtime with 7 tenths of a second left. So we were close. We just weren't quite getting it done at the end, and we weren't defending the way we needed to be. And so we got back to playing defense the way we had been doing and executing a little bit better down the stretch. We were able to get on a nice run.
Yeah, nice run to say the least. You get back from the Christmas break and you start rolling through Birmingham Southern and Dickinson at your place, then Gettysburg, then you get into conference play, and you certainly started ticking along with big wins over Randolph or Virginia Wesleyan, I should say, Hampton-Sydney, certainly Guilford, to continue things along. Of course, now you got these big 2 games, Hampton-Sydney and Washington-Lee coming up. Hampton-Sydney, big rivalry game coming up in midweek at your place. The place is going to be hopping to start with. How do you guys, Hampton-Sydney's chomping at the bit to do something here in a season that maybe even they are underwhelmed by?
Well, you're going to get a great effort out of them. It'll be a great environment. People obviously around our place and their place get fired up for the game. But it's important to do what you do, and you got to make sure that you defend and are getting stops and getting rebounds, so that you're playing with poise and purpose on offense. If you do those things, we'll have a chance to win down the stretch. If you don't execute in one of those areas, you're going to be in a lot of trouble.
You've had a lot of success at Randolph-Macon. Obviously, your alma mater, leading them into the NCAA tournament, doing a lot of good things with this team. I know you don't want to look that far ahead, but you seem to be positioning yourself pretty nicely, maybe to at least be rewarded that first weekend. You and I met each other at a time when you guys probably should have been hosting the first weekend, and there was a snafu, and you guys had to go on the road and maybe backfired. How important is it to have a game at Crenshaw in Ashland, Virginia, or 2 games on that opening weekend?
Well, you said you don't want to get too far ahead of yourself, but you got to win games. It's certainly easier to. I shouldn't say easier to get the NCAA tournament. Everyone's good, but it's certainly you're in a better position if you're playing at home. You're more comfortable. It's more of a familiar setting. So you want to have that opportunity. But like you said, there's a lot that's going to happen between now and then. We got to focus on what we can control, and right now what we can control is making sure we prepare as best as possible to get ready for Hampton-Sydney on Wednesday.
This team's got just 2 seniors on it. That's probably a rarity in the last few years with you guys. You've been having a lot of good senior classes. Jamie Robinson is one of those seniors. Andre Simon is the other. Of course, Andre is leading the team at 15.8 points a game and 7.5 rebounds a game. But you've also got guys, the underclassmen, who've stepped up on this team and really played well, including junior guard Connor Sullivan, 12 points a game. You're getting nearly 10 points out of Joe Hassel, and Marcus Badger's getting you 9+. Akeem Holmes getting you 9. You seem to have a really good core of players just on the wings, as it were, and positioning yourselves that if this season isn't the best in the world, next season could be even better.
Well, I haven't given myself a lot of time to think about what next year will be. We're kind of in the thrall of it right now, but certainly I like where our depth is from our freshmen through our junior class. You said we have a small senior class. Jamie Robinson, unfortunately, got hurt right before the start of practice and missed basically the first semester, and just kind of getting back in the swing of things now. But Andre Simon, I think, has got a chance to be in the conversation for Player of the Year in the league this year, so I'm thrilled for him with the way he's been playing. And you mentioned our junior class. I think it's deep, it's strong. We have good balance. We're very unselfish offensively. We can throw it inside. We can drive it. We've got some guys that can make shots. So there's a lot of dynamics that we can throw out there to play a lot of different ways and still have success.
It's interesting, you seem to be a little more prolific on offense than I remember. 100 points, 103 points on Shenandoah, another 103 on Guilford when you held them to 58. Talk about the most lopsided score I never saw coming. You've scored a lot of 90-point games, nearly 100-point. Is this offense maybe just a little bit more geared up than you've had in recent years?
I think that we have more versatility offensively. We've been in a situation, several years ago we went to the Final Four, and that next year with Danny Jones and Brandon Braxton, those guys, we had some guys who could really throw it in, and some guys that could knock down shots on the perimeter on kickouts. Now we've got guys who can throw it in. We've got guys that can drive it. We've got guys that can frankly play at a faster pace and still make good decisions. So there's more possessions in the game, but we're still trying to keep our focus and make sure that we're doing a good job defensively. But we can get up and down. We can play a grinding-out game. There's a lot of different ways we can win. But certainly, I think when there's a faster-paced game, it's better off for us. You guys are in line for your 7th straight 20-win season, your 5th straight 20-win season, or 6th straight. I can't even do math here. Hold on. 6 straight 20-win seasons. You're in line for 7. You have got, I'm right, intentionally 5 winning seasons. How much does winning kind of breed amongst itself? A winning this season brings on winning next season. 20 wins this season brings on 20 wins next season. How much does that just kind of build itself as it goes along? Well, I think that there's a culture that develops where people expect to have success. Guys learn how to win and that type of thing. But at the same time, every year is an individual thing. You got to work to be the best you can be each year. You're not going to carry wins over from one year to the next. And we've been fortunate that we've had some talented guys that have been very competitive, wanting to be good, and giving us everything they could give us on the court to be successful. And the other question I'm kind of curious about is you don't shy away from tough schedules. Scranton, Christopher Newport, Guilford on that schedule this year. Catholic is on the schedule. Cabrini, Birmingham Southern, Dickinson, and Gettysburg. Maybe not all of them are the big world beaters they used to be, but a lot of them still tough. You did this last year as well when you came to the Hoopsville Classic and you got a couple big tests and you continued on with tough games. You certainly have the mentality of we're going to go out there and play as tough a schedule as we can because why? Well, I think in playing for a great coach at Hound, one of the things that he always preached to me was that he never wanted to play a schedule where the best team in his league was necessarily the best team on his schedule. In our league, unfortunately, if you're going to make sure that the best team in your league is not the best team on your schedule, you're going to have to play some pretty good people. Yeah. So we go out and we like I said, we don't shy away. We want to challenge ourselves. That's why kids come to Randolph-Macon, that they want to test themselves to see how good a team they can become, how good a player they can become. So like I said, we'll go around. We'll play some different people. We want to go some different areas where with our location we can recruit a lot of different areas. I want to try to get some of those guys closer to home to play games and things like that, so their family and friends can come out and see them. And so we're going to keep doing it. This conference is 12 deep. 12 teams involved. There are 10 teams with above 500 records at this point. Have you? Even Shenandoah, who's 4-10 in conference, has had a pretty good season and certainly has made waves in the conference as well. Have you ever seen, from your playing days to your coaching days, this kind of parity in the ODAC? I think that you hit on the head. What makes our league great is the depth. You talked about Shenandoah, and then you go down to 1 and 2 to the losing record. We play on Saturdays Washington Lee, and they took Williams to a 2-point game earlier this year. So it's just the way the league is. The coach is doing an outstanding job. Everyone's got several guys that if you're not ready for it, can beat you. So guys got to be ready to go every night. And if you don't play well and don't execute, you're gonna be in trouble against anyone in the league. And it's a testament to the coaches in our league. It's a testament to the league itself and the emphasis we put on men's basketball. And making sure that it's done right in the schools and the presidents and athletic directors, giving everyone the resources that they need to be successful. I talked to Coach Dave Macedo at Virginia Wesleyan about this a few weeks back earlier in the season. It seems like the ODAC always has a lot of good teams. You had 4 in the NCAA tournament last year. It seems like you guys have the capabilities. Since we added this SOS, somebody figured out you guys are tied for the most bids in the NCAA tournament with 10. And since we went to this SOS system for selecting teams. But it's been a while since we've seen the ODAC make a real push, Virginia Wesleyan being the last or not technically the last, but the real last push into the Final Four and having a chance at a championship. What is your point of view of what the ODAC needs to do to almost return back to its home site in Salem and prove that the conference, especially at the top, is as good as the rest of the country? Well, I think that you hit on a little bit earlier. The biggest thing is getting home games in the NCAA tournament. You look at the teams that go, typically they've had a chance to play most of their games at home, and I feel like with Virginia Wesleyan the last few years, with some of our teams the last few years, look at Guilford over the years, we keep having to go on the low because you're going to lose. Just the nature of the beast in our league is you're going to lose 3 or 4 games in the league and still win our league. So all of a sudden you go out and you take a loss non-league and you're at 5 losses. You get down to it at the end, and you're looking at you got Randolph-Macon or Virginia Wesleyan or Guilford or Eastern Mennonite or what have you, 5 losses, and some other teams with 2 or 3. Then it's hard for us to host those games. But I think the big thing is we got to make sure that we're winning games to give ourselves a chance to play at home.
Coach, I appreciate you coming on the show. I know you're traveling back to Richmond as we speak, really Ashland, just north of Richmond, if no one's familiar. I'm certainly familiar. Haven't been there in a while, but I know the school well. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys down there in Salem, Virginia, as Hoopsville will be on the road at the ODAC Championship Tournament, at least the opening days of it. I know you got a big task with Hampton-Sydney coming up here on Wednesday and then Washington-Lee next week before conference tournament action begins, and certainly I know you want to wrap up that #1 seed. As always, though, I give you the final word. Any final thoughts you want to share with those who may be tuning in?
Well, I just say, Dave, I just want to personally thank you for the time you put in and your dedication to promoting Division III athletics and Division III men's basketball, and it wouldn't be what it is without your help.
Well, thank you, Coach. I appreciate those kind words. Good luck the rest of the way. If the rivalry game was at your place and on a Saturday, I'm going to make a trip. I just can't do a Wednesday. Just can't do it.
Well, I'll talk to our people and see if we can get that done for you next year.
I think it automatically does do that next year, but thanks. Good luck the rest of the way, Coach. I certainly appreciate you coming on, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Nathan Davis joining us on the road back to Ashland. We appreciate him taking the time to join us. Again, the team is dangerously good. We'll see. They could be positioning themselves for some hosting that first weekend. That certainly, as you can tell, is key, and we'll see how they do the rest of the way, though this is a team that is poised to continue winning down the road as well. I know we had a lot of technical difficulties tonight, so those of you who may have been able to watch on, according to my system, some people may have been able to watch on. And funny thing is I finally got some problem alerts from YouTube, but only in the last 20 minutes. So go figure, as it were. But thanks for watching the show. If you're watching this on the archive, thanks for tuning into the archive. We certainly appreciate it. I want to thank all my guests. Hopefully you got to listen to most of them, if not all of those interviews, depending on what got broken up and where. But Pat Coleman from D3 Hoops, number 25 Texas-Tyler women's basketball coach Kevin Baker, Castleton State women's basketball coach Tim Barrett, number 7 Amherst men's basketball coach Dave Hickson, of course, Mike Walsey-Wool, big Amherst fan, for coming on the show and his kind contribution, Baptist Bible's men's basketball coach Mike Show, Rose-Hulman's men's basketball coach Jim Shaw, and of course number 21 Randolph-Macon men's basketball coach Nathan Davis. A reminder, regional rankings will come out again on Wednesday. It's week number 2. We will get a new sense of what's going on. I went through the regional rankings on the men's side at least. In the Atlantic, there were no losses. On the East, there were 4 losses amongst 3 teams. In the Great Lakes, it was 5 losses amongst 4 teams. Of course, I should say 3 teams in the East of 6 ranked. In the Great Lakes, 4 teams of the 7 ranked. In the Mid-Atlantic, 8 losses amongst 6 teams of the 9 ranked. In the Midwest, 2 losses amongst 2 teams in the 8th ranked. In the Northeast, 3 losses amongst 3 teams in the 11 ranked. South, there were 6 losses amongst 5 teams of the 8 ranked there, and the 4 losses of 3 teams in the 9th ranked in the West. Keep in mind that just because teams ahead in the regional rankings lose doesn't automatically mean a team behind them will then move ahead of them in the regional ranking. We have a major criteria now entered into the regional ranking for the committees to determine or look over, and that will be the results versus regionally ranked opponents. That was not data that the original committees could look at last week. They can now look at that data based on week number 1's regional rankings. That can change some arguments. If they're looking and trying to figure out A and B, let's just say there's a team with a gaudy record and a weak SOS who has actually does have a couple wins over regionally ranked opponents. That is going to help them. But if they have no losses, Staten Island would be no results at all. And I don't mean wins or losses. I just mean results, meaning they played teams. Staten Island doesn't have those. That's going to hurt them. They may not move up ahead of teams. They may move back. So teams, just because they lost does not mean they will move out of that ranking position. We always see a lot of differences between week 1 and week 2 amongst losses, and because of the regional ranking criteria, that will be determined. We'll figure out. Again, regional rankings come out on Wednesday afternoon. We'll have a full recap of them on Thursday. Of course, follow us on D3 Hoops and D3 Hoopsville on Twitter, at D3 Hoops and at D3 Hoopsville for those regional rankings when they come out on Wednesday, and follow us online as well at d3hoops.com. Top 25 comes out tomorrow. We'll see how far Cabrini does or does not fall. Remember, they lost, but there's a pillow effect. There were teams behind them that lost too. And the men's side of things, only 8 teams lost, but there were 11 total losses. The first team that lost behind them was Mary Washington, and they lost 2. So how far does Cabrini fall will determine that. Also, how far they fall is how people consider a St. Norbert or a Worcester or a Wesleyan, and whether Cabrini is better or not of them. The middle of the pack is going to be an interesting determination, because from team 13 down to 25, that's where those 8 teams lost 11 games. On the women's side, carnage. 13 losses amongst 11 teams. That's a big deal, especially a tough weekend for George Fox. The number 7 team in the country lost twice. 1 to Whitman, which is respectable, but then they lost to Whitworth. Not that that's not respectable, but it doesn't really help them. I could have seen George Fox only lose 1 or 2 positions as a result. Now they're going to lose a lot. Of course, FDU Florham, by the way, still undefeated at 23-0 at number 8. DePaul still undefeated. Whitman still undefeated. Hope still undefeated. Thomas More still undefeated. Those top 4, DePaul, Whitman, Hope, and Thomas More, look dangerous this year. Hope dealing with some injuries, though. Also, FDU Florham could be maybe a quiet team that no one expects much out of. We'll see how that happens. Lots to gauge in amongst the women's side of things as well. We'll be back on the air on Thursday, 7 o'clock Eastern Time will be our start time. Hopefully you have a number of guests. We're working on that as we speak, and hopefully we'll fix some of these technical difficulties as well. We appreciate you tuning in. If you're watching the archive, thank you so much. We'll have plenty more Hoopsville. And, of course, if you have a guest idea for us, tweet us at D3Hoopsville or use the hashtag Hoopsville. Email us, hoopsville@d3hoops.com, or Facebook us at facebook.com/Hoopsville as well. If you are watching us live and missed any of the show, we will work on the archive, figure out if the entire thing got up online or not. If not, we will post what we do have, which is about 3/4 or a little less of the show, maybe 2/3. We will post that online as well. Thank you so much for tuning into Hoopsville. I certainly appreciate it. We will be back on Thursday night. Once again, we want to thank our sponsor, the City of Salem, which is hosting the Division III Men's Basketball Championship Tournament this year once again, and for the next 5 years, as well as they sponsor our hotline. We also want to thank D3Hoops.com and, of course, the National Association of Basketball Coaches as well. You've been listening to Hoopsville, presented by D3Hoops.com and the National Association of Basketball Coaches. Back on the air Thursday, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. You can catch any of the archives as well throughout or anytime you want online at D3Hoopsville.com. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you soon on Thursday. 2 weeks left of the regular season, and we're talking NCAA tournament, so a lot to cover between now and then. Good night, everybody.